In the previous video, we learned how to generate some clean TurboStream views like this one for all the create, update, and destroy method. However, if we have a look at this view, we can realize that this is not a really clear and clean API. It will be complicated for the developers using our software to remember. If we look at the documentation of TurboRails, we can see that all this HTML here can be replaced by a simple TurboStream replace article. This is what we want to achieve in this video. We want to be able to write this very simple declaration here in order to replace all of this complex and long HTML to write. And we're not only going to do that, but we're going also to realize that there are other ways to generate HTML with this TurboStream method here. So the first other one is we can say TurboStream replace the article target, so the element that will have the DOM ID of the article in the DOM, and we can specify the rendering options that we want. So we could specify, for example, a partial. In our case, it will be article, but we could specify something else. Oh, and sorry, there's no thing like this here. And we can specify also the locals that we want. So in our case, it's quite simple, but it will allow us to pass some more locals here if we wanted to. We are also going to support passing explicitly a content. So for example, we could say that we want to replace this article with an empty content here. There is another option that we could have, and this one is the block syntax. So we could say that we want to replace the article target with something that we pass as a block here, so like this. So those are the 4 different kind of syntax that we are going to support. They all do the same thing except this one, where we pass content that we would generate by ourselves, so in our case an empty string. But that's what we're going to build. So we're going to start with the first one here. The first question we can ask ourselves is, where does this TurboStream here method comes from? And as we're in a view, it probably comes from a helper, right? So what we're going to do is we are going to create within app helpers TurboClone, we're going to create a streams helper here, and this helper here will be in charge of implementing this method. And this method will have to return an object that responds to the replace method and can take all this wild variety of arguments. So what we're going to do is we're going to return this object, and this object will be a TurboClone streams tag builder.new. So an instance of this model that we're going to create, and it will take as an argument the view context, and we will explain a bit later why we pass the view context as an argument. So but basically here we're inside a helper, and inside a helper we can generate very easily some HTML thanks to, for example, the render method. And this is why we need to pass the view context as an argument to this tag builder, because we will want to generate HTML just like we would generate HTML from helpers. So let's create the object here, and we are going to place it inside app models. We're going to create a streams folder, and we are going to create a tag builder object. And some of you might be surprised because they might think that app models is reserved for active record models, and in the standard Rails architecture this is not the case. In app models, you can have, I mean, really everything, active record models, of course, but also plain old Ruby objects. And in our case, this tag builder object is probably going to be what we call a view object. So it's an object that's in charge of generating HTML. But in the standard Rails architecture, it's absolutely fine to put it inside the app models folder. So let's go ahead and create our plain old Ruby object. So it's TurboClone streams tag builder, and it's initialized with a view context. And here we go. And if we have a look here, this helper is automatically included inside the main Rails application, because in the engine we specified that when action control base loads, we are going to include all the helpers from the TurboClone engine inside the main application. So we don't have to worry about this file anymore. We can close it and close the engine, and we are going to work on this within the tag builder now. So our tag builder here has to respond to the replace method with an argument. So what we're going to do is implement this replace method with the argument that we're going to call target. And this this replace method is going to generate the action of replace on the target. So we're going to create the action method that has a name and a target. And this action method is responsible for two things. The first thing here is to render the HTML that would be placed within this template HTML tag. And the second thing is to generate this whole wrapper to the HTML that we are going to render. So the first part of the action method is to generate the template, and to do this we're going to delegate this responsibility to a render template method that takes the target as an argument, and then we are going to generate the TurboStream action tag with the name of the action and the target. So let's first focus on the first part of what we want to achieve, and the first part is actually generating this HTML here. So what we can say is that we can create a render template method that takes a target, and what it's going to do is delegate to the view context. So just like if we were inside a helper or in a view, we can render the partial target, and we are going to specify the formats to be HTML, because here we are in a TurboStream view. So the format is TurboStream, and what we want is to render this partial in the HTML format. And in our case, this will render the following view. So we would render the article view in HTML format. So that would be the view for our specific article. So that's it for the first part here. We could generate the template, and we're going to pass it to the TurboStream action tag method. And then we can create this TurboStream action tag method that takes an action, a target, and a template. And what we are going to do is that what we want to render is actually a TurboStream tag here, and to insert the template HTML tags like this. So what we're going to say is we are going to insert a template, but our template here currently only is the HTML. So what we have to do is to say that the template will be a template tag like this, where we insert the HTML that we generated previously. So this should work now. We can also add the action. So in our case, the action will be replace. So this part should be okay here. And the last thing we need to do is to add the target with the DOM ID of the article. So we are going to do exactly this. So target, and we are going to interpolate the target here. But we first have to convert it to a DOM ID. So we can say if target is equal to convert to TurboStream DOM ID of the target. Then we can render this, and we can use HTML safe here because all of the parts we have control on it. This was rendered by the view context, so it's properly escaped. The action, we have the control on it, so it's not user input, so it's safe as well, and the target is also generated by ourselves. So everything is safe in here, so we can say that this string here will require no more escaping. And otherwise, if the target doesn't convert, we can raise an argument error and say that a target must be supplied. So this is the last method that we have to implement, and it's going to be exactly the same logic that we had for the Turbo frame tag helper. So what we're going to say is that if the target responds to the toKey method, then it means it can be converted to a DOM ID. So we are going to say that we want to take the action view, record identifier DOM ID of the target. And last but not least, if the target doesn't respond to toKey, then it cannot be converted to a DOM ID, so we are going to leave it unchanged. So this should work unless I made some typos, so that's what we're going to test right now. So what we're going to do is we're just going to remove all of this, actually, to keep only this small piece of view, and we are going to restart our server to make sure everything is fine. And let's edit our article, remove the question marks, and as we can see, it works as expected. If I go on the network tab and add those maybe question marks here, what we can see is that in the response we successfully generated the HTML here. So that's it for this first video. In the next video we are going to implement the other ways of generating HTML with the TurboStream helper.